Hi, this is Donna Nova. I'm the Transdimensional Twin Flame and the Afterlife artist. I recently found an artifact from my childhood. It's this notebook that I had in the 4th grade. And the reason I'm looking at it now is because there's been all this information coming out about the GATE program and what it stood for. And this notebook was kept between me and my teacher during that first year that I was in the GATE program. I was in this program from 1981, probably through 1985. It was 5 years starting in the 4th grade, and this notebook is from that time in 1981. The date I'm picking is February 11th because that is the day my twin flame, all these years later, 40 years later to the day of this notebook entry, my twin flame, who is the person who shares my same soul blueprint, he was my partner in physical life, he transitioned across the veil and we started our interdimensional life together. I'm able to bilocate to other dimensions and visit him, and he's always here with me. We practice after death communication, or what we call ADC, in a variety of different ways, and we have created a life in the higher dimensions where he is. He's not just here visiting me. I mean, he's here with me all the time, so we have a life here. But I'm also able to visit him, and even though I'm not always conscious of being there, we have a house there and a life and a family, and I can bilocate on occasion and go explore that with him. So I'm interested in this notebook because it's evidence of my time in the GATE program. You know, people are saying now that this program was actually a covert operation to assess children for their psychic abilities and possibly use those abilities as a national asset later, for whatever purpose. I mean, I don't know what proof there is of exactly what they did with us, but there's a lot of speculation that we've been watched our entire lives, and that we were being basically tested and assessed for our psychic skills. Now, I believe this because of all the stories that people have been saying about this program, which is we didn't do the normal curriculum. My class was taken out of school, away from the other classes. We all stayed together as a group for 5 years, even when other classes started changing teachers for different subjects during the day. You know how you change classes. We never did that. So we had our own curriculum. Some of us remember, and this is what I remember, the headphones. Sometimes they would give you hearing tests, but there's people who say that they had something other than the standard hearing test, which is basically like they would play a tone and ask you to raise your hand or your finger whenever you thought they were going to play the next one, or which ear did you suspect the next tone would be in. That's a psychic test, okay? That has nothing to do with hearing. They also gave us fluoride drink, and I don't know if this is considered the pink drink that people talk about. People talk about being made to drink a pink drink. I don't technically remember that, but I remember Swish, which was supposed to be a fluoride rinse. We weren't supposed to swallow it. They do say now that fluoride will calcify your pineal gland. And your pineal gland is your psychic. It's in the middle of your head. People say it's the third eye right here, but it's not really right there. It's in the middle of your head, and it has a space around it, like it's encased in a chamber. It's like protected. Most other parts of your brain don't have empty space like that, but the pineal gland, it's the queen of the brain, I think. And they say that fluoride suppresses or calcifies the pineal gland, which means if they were giving us fluoride, they were trying to stop our psychic senses. And a lot of us believe that they were trying to suppress our memories because a lot of us don't really remember what we did in here in these classes. I have very few memories of my childhood in general. I remember, landmarks. I remember certain things, but if you asked me what I did on most days, it would be a vague answer that I gave you. And if you ask me, what did we really learn in school? I would have a vague answer about that too, because we had a lot of different projects. They were always giving us too much homework. It was very stressful. You know what I mean? And so I remember certain projects that we had to do, but as far as like our everyday curriculum, I don't know. And I do remember they would give us things like where we were trying to break codes, maybe read backwards or upside down or try to find the pattern in words or numbers. So I believe that they were trying to assess for, different skill sets, not just intellect. Now a lot of us, we were intelligent, and we had other abilities. I was first chair orchestra, first chair violin in our school orchestra, even though I was the only legally blind child. I am legally blind, so everything was harder for me, but I still excelled because basically because I'm a twin flame graduate soul. I'm a starseed, so I've been to Earth before. I've learned a lot of things before. And so I just kind of, I always was an old soul. I'm mature for my age and always was. And I was always psychic and didn't know it because I had had my near-death experience at birth to train me to be an interdimensional person, a twin flame between dimensions. Because Chris and I were eventually going to have to communicate between dimensions because that's our soul contract. That's just what we agreed to do in this life. Twin flames are graduates. We don't have to come back to Earth school. We've done this before many times, and we've graduated. We came back as volunteers, but we still have to go through the Earth experience. For some dumb reason, we decided this was a good idea. I guess humanity is supposed to be worth it. So we came here to help everybody through this transition and the huge awakening that's happening right now. That's why I awakened earlier than a lot of people, so that I could already be pretty well along in my journey and I could guide other people. And, I've gone really deep in the interdimensional life that I lead. I don't just have random, vague communication from across the veil all the time. I have it every day all the time because I work on it. And because I was born to do this. Literally, I was born 2 months premature and almost died and spent, those 2 months in the hospital between both dimensions being trained by my guides to do this. And I was also being asked if I wanted to do this because this journey is not easy. It's hard. And you can't really relate. Nobody can relate to you. And you can't relate to anybody else because you have no role models. I find role models here and there, people who've done parts of my journey. There's been plenty of people who can bilocate and travel outside their body and get communication from the spirit world. That's not something that I invented, but I've gone deeper with it than anybody that I've heard of so far. I've heard of plenty of people who have relationships like I do, but I've done some things with him, my twin flame Chris, that I've not heard of other people doing. And it's because we were literally set up for this. And I'm going to look at this notebook because I've been wanting to look through it since it's evidence of my GATE program experience. And I think I got off target there. I was talking about what I remember. I do remember being taken into a separate classroom on occasion that was like a trailer, like one of those augmented classrooms that, wasn't part of the school. It was separate. And I do remember the hearing tests. I don't know if it was like the standard hearing test or the one where they're trying to get you to guess which tone is going to come into which ear next. I think it was both. And I do remember IQ tests, and I do remember Zener cards, which are those cards that they test you for psychic skills. Like they have a star. They have symbols on them, like a wavy line, a square, a star, or a circle, or a plus sign. And they were actually invented here at Duke University. Has a psychic research center called the Rhine Institute. I always wanted to go there and be tested. I was always interested in this stuff when I was a kid. Interested in the paranormal and mediumship and psychic and twin flames. Not twin flames, I didn't know about that. But like indigo children. I felt like indigo children was a very interesting term, and I do identify as one now. And then there was UFO stuff and ETs. I grew up loving sci-fi. So this has been building my whole life. My whole life has been building my skill set and my interest into what I'm doing now between dimensions with my twin flame Chris. So I'm just going to read this journal entry because it's about to be February 11th. And this year that will be the 5th year since my twin flame Chris transitioned across the veil. 3 years later, to that same day, my mom transitioned across the veil, and I was having an interdimensional party for my twin flame when it happened. I had learned to bilocate at that point, and I had planned a interdimensional bilocation party for my private Facebook group of people who have relationships across the veil or loved ones across the veil, and everybody wanted to connect to their loved ones at a party because I realized we could do that. And so we had created this party at a magical amusement park by the ocean on the other side. And I'm leading my group through this party. I've created Chris actually curated a playlist embedded with light codes of this place to help them get there. And then I had created images of this place from when I had seen it. And all these things had the energy of this place embedded into them because that's one of our abilities. So we were able to create like a portal opening for other people to access the other side. And it worked. But what I didn't tell people was that I had just found out my mom died right before we went live. So I was having a party to celebrate my twin flame's 3-year ascension day. And my mom had just ascended. And so she was at the party and I saw her. So that's what happened on February 11th, a couple years ago. And so this is February 11th, 1981, that I'm going to read. I'm going to see what my teacher said. I haven't even read it yet. Let me go see what she said. Okay. So this is February 11th, 1981, which is literally 40 years exactly to the day when my twin flame, my partner, and the only true love I've ever had, transitioned into a higher dimension and graduated Earth School. So he graduated Earth School 40 years after I drew this. This is me and my teacher. Do we have to give a Valentine to everybody on Friday? I'll try to catch the ball better next time we play out kickball. Can we play Foursquare if we go out tomorrow? Now, I had been pitching the idea of Foursquare to her in these other journal entries because she said, a game we could play. Apparently, I was obsessed with playing with the balls on recess. And I was like, I like it when we play with the balls. And she's like, do you have a game that you think we could play as a class with the balls? And I'm like, Foursquare. Because back then, at the time, that was all the rage. And then I drew a rainbow and a cloud with some rain and 2 stars and a smiley face. And I'm going to say, this is kind of funny because Chris called me his star because my name is Donna Nova and he called me Light Star. That's just how he thought of me, as a star. This star thing repeats throughout my life. When I was in 4th grade, I became first chair of the school orchestra when I started playing violin, and they gave me a solo to play in front of the school, and it was Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. My favorite show at the time, when I was from 6th grade till whenever it was on, was a show called The Powers of Matthew Star about a guy who had telekinetic abilities. He was an alien who got stuck on Earth and had telekinetic abilities, and his name was Matthew Star. And so there's two stars here. There's a whole star thing that keeps repeating. This is actually a star sapphire. A star ruby right here. That's what that is that I'm wearing. And I designed this ring, actually. And then my partner's last name is Raths, R-A-T-H-S. But if you spell it backwards, it's almost star. But on his Facebook page, in the background photo, he had a photo of some graffiti that he didn't make, but he had seen the photo and thought it was funny. And it said, call 1-800-RATS-ASS. And, rats, if you read it backwards, is star. So, in mediumship readings for all these years, he has said, I'm going to pluck the stars out of the sky and put them in your room. It's just a thing that repeats. So, you could say that this is a pretty weird synchronicity that I drew basically a star to represent me and him. There's only 2 stars in the sky. I could have put stars everywhere, but there's only 2. Usually I put 3 of things. There's a rainbow. I associate my twin with rainbows because several people had told him his aura was a rainbow. Then I drew some raindrops, which is kind of like tears. And I obviously cried that day in 2021 when he transitioned across the veil. It's almost like that's him right there looking down. How many raindrops did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. I wish I had done 11. That would have been funny. because it was February 11th, and 11 is one of our numbers because our anniversary is 11/11. Anyway, let me see what my teacher said here. She said, "Donna, you do just fine at catching balls. All I ask is that you try your best. Yes, we'll play Foursquare if we go out. How is this school year different from last year for you?" Now, just because I'm curious, I want to know what I said. Oh my God. What is this? It's a squirrel. There's a squirrel there. How is this year different? Thank you for saying we can or could play Foursquare today. I was going to see if I said how this year was different than last year, because I wasn't in the GATE program the year before. Hot day today, wasn't it? I liked the Valentine you gave me. Oh, then I drew Ziggy. Remember Ziggy? He was a comic book character that became just ubiquitous. So there's the sun. And then down here I drew a person who was probably supposed to be me, and a squirrel, and a ball. What is going on? I don't know. It was a beautiful day, and I liked your Valentine also. Well, I didn't answer her question about how this year was different than last year, and this was me drawing a bunch of Peanuts characters. Oh my God, this is going to be funny. I'm not going to read this now, but stay tuned because I'm going to go check this out again. So anyway, I have several diaries from this period in my life. They weren't like related to school. I mean, they weren't like something that I did in school, but I do have several different diaries from this time in my life. So what I can remember from the GATE program, really, the Swish drink. I also remember a hot pink tablet that they used to make us chew. They said it would stain your teeth if you needed to brush your teeth more, and it would show like plaque or something. They made us do this a lot. And some people have said, why were they so obsessed with our teeth? Do they really care that much? I don't know. Doesn't seem like they care that much about our health in this country. So I'm not sure why they were so obsessed with us and our teeth and giving us this pink tablet. I think the pink tablet could have been the equivalent of the pink drink. And I also think that they have done something to suppress our memories, and that their memories are coming back now for a lot of people. Seems like it anyway. I mean, I never forgot this stuff, but there's other things people are starting to remember about their time that I haven't remembered. But I also do remember, like I said, the headphones, going into like a trailer classroom, being separated from the class, doing some, weird tests. And I don't have a lot of memory of this time. And that's what a lot of people say, is that they just don't have a lot of memory of this time. Now think about this. If the government in our school systems were going to test us all without our parents' permission for psychic skills, which was not cool at the time. Nobody talked about this kind of stuff. You weren't considered normal if you said you heard, spirits or anything like that. You were not going to be, you weren't going to be taken seriously. But secretly, our government, because of research done at the Monroe Institute by Robert Monroe, called the Gateway Experience, they knew that we could travel out of body, and they knew that we weren't just physical and that psychic skills were real. So our government knew this, even though publicly everybody was still ostracized for expressing these abilities and this belief. Our government knew it was true. And Robert Monroe was groundbreaking, and he was basically the person he invented the term out-of-body experience. He didn't invent the experience, but he coined the term. So he called his process the Gateway process, just similar to the GATE program for gifted and talented education. So it makes you wonder, what exactly what gifts and what talents were they actually looking for? A lot of us have turned out to be psychic. I don't know how many people in my class actually went into this. I think I'm probably the most psychic of any of them, because I don't really know anybody else who has the level of experiences that I do on a daily basis. I know people with better abilities than me, but as far as my levels of constant experiences, because I'm connected to my twin flame across the veil 24/7, it doesn't really stop, you know. So what better way for them, you know, the authorities, whoever they are, to do this? They would have to wipe our memories, you would think. And they would have to make all this seem really normal. Because if a kid goes home and says, hey, we were doing some weird psychic tests today, that parent is not going to be cool with that. Back then in the 80s, that was not cool. That was my washer, sorry. It was emphasizing the fact that was not cool. So to me, if you're going to do something like this, you better make it so normal that no kid would ever say anything weird to their parents, or you got to wipe the kid's memory somehow. Because if we come home, start talking about weird stuff that we're doing in school, it's not going to work. And these programs went on for a long time, and some people say they're still going on. So I think they really did suppress our memories. The other thing I remember is what people are talking about is the mall world dream. I thought this was just a dream that I had because I grew up with malls, and you know how it is in your dreams. You explore like a weird landscape and it just goes on and on and on forever. I've had those dreams my whole life where I'm just like wandering through this never-ending maze of stuff, rooms in a house, like a house that never ends, a shopping complex that never ends, like a hotel where I can't find my room and there's crazy elevators. The elevators are creepy. All the floors look the same. Everything looks the same and everything's weird, and you go looking for a bathroom and you either can't find the bathroom or the bathroom is weird. The doors are weird. They're broken. You can't find one that works. There's no privacy. There's something freaky about the bathrooms, and there's always something freaky about the elevators. So I've had this dream about this never-ending mall my whole life, as long as I can remember. It's a recurring dream. And sometimes I'm lucid in my dreams. And I've also shared dreams, and I've had prophetic dreams. I've had precognitive dreams. So I don't usually remember my dreams, but if I do, it's usually more important. And I've had extremely important things happen in my dreams precognitively, meaning I've met people and my cats in my dreams before I ever met them in real life. And my twin flame and I shared a dream in 2018. That's when we started noticing something weird was going on with us, and it wasn't a normal connection because we were like, I had this dream about you, and here's what it was. And then, you know, I said that, and then he said, when was it? And, you know, he said that he had the same dream, or maybe he's the one that said his dream first. But basically, we had the same dream, and we were both there, and it was basically like our first date. It felt like a first date, and we weren't dating at the time. So there's something about this mall world dream that people in the GATE program are talking about. And I've had this dream my whole life. I heard somebody say that people are meeting up in this dream and then deciding to meet up in real life. Now, I haven't had that because I barely remember my dreams. I don't remember meeting somebody in my dream and saying, okay, I'm from Durham. Let's go meet up at this coffee shop on Tuesday or something like that. I am totally up for that. If anybody wants to try meeting up with me in my dreams, that'd be great. Because it does happen. Shared dreams are real. But I'm just not great at remembering my dreams. So anyway, I have that factor, the mall world dream, where everybody dreams that there's this endless mall. It's creepy. In the dream, you're normally like looking around and exploring and exploring and exploring. Even though it's creepy, you're not totally creeped out. You're just curious. So you keep looking and looking and looking and looking like you're looking for something that you can't really ever find. And there's something weird about it. It's not a good dream. But it's not a nightmare either. It's just like, oh, here we are in the mall again. Like we live in the mall almost. When you think about it, it almost is sort of a metaphor for the GATE program where they took us out of our class and put us in our own world. We didn't change classes after that. We did not have the same experience as other kids in our school. I don't even know if there was another gate program in our school other than our grade. I think there may have been one in the year after us, but I'm not even sure about that. I think there might have been. Anyways, I thought it was interesting to tie the gate program into this anniversary that I have with my partner transitioning across the veil. So, interesting that I had a 40 years ago insight into what I was thinking about, and that I kind of drew. I don't know, I feel like that drawing that I made with the two stars and the rain cloud, the cloud and the rain and the rainbow, it's really symbolic of what happened. The stars are me and him. The cloud is like the sadness of the grief of him transitioning. He's up in the clouds. I mean, he's not really, but you know what I mean? The rainbow, that's him. That's the beauty of him. I've always associated him with rainbows. And the rainbow lining of, every cloud has a silver lining. Yeah, it was horrible when he transitioned, but I already knew he would be back. I had already studied mediumship, and I told him to show up, and he did. So that drawing that I made 40 years to the day of his transition was like a precog drawing. So there's my proof that I should have been in the gate program, I guess. I don't know if I'll do any more of these. I was going to record something about being in the gate program, but I wasn't sure when. But this, I guess, will probably be that video because I've said everything that I remember so far. And it tied into this anniversary that's coming up. So anyway, if you watched all that, you're weird because this is such a weird subject. Why would you even watch all this? Okay, but anyways, thanks if you did. Bye.